So, welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday to you. Or 4/17. Wow, 420's coming up soon. Oh, wait, you better edit that out, too. This is going to be Game Mastering 101, and we're going to talk about how you can run your own game. Perhaps you want to run a role-playing game and find some folks and have at it. Here are some hints and things that will help you. I would like it to be just a open discussion, so it's not just me up here prattling on. If you have questions or if you have ideas, then just shout them out, and we'll discuss them accordingly. So I'll start it off with that really there's only 4 things you need to be a game master. And by the way, I like using Game Master or Game Judge better than Dungeon Master. That sounds pretty archaic and like 1970-ish, because there's so many more games than Dungeons and Dragons these days for role-playing that game mastering, although that sounds a bit pretentious, game mastering. Game judge is what you really more are likely to be, because you kind of got to judge the calls made and what your players are doing and decide whether it's within legal boundaries of the rule system and kind of, keep it all together and pass judgment, if you will. But anyways, those 4 things that you need to play the game, and we'll address each of these in more detail, but basically you need a system, some type of game rules system. Almost all the RPGs out there for tabletop, and by the way, we're speaking about tabletop gaming that we're bringing into a virtual setting, so everything applies to both virtual role-playing and tabletop gaming. It's the same thing. You need a system, and those of you that play in my game here in VH know that we use the D20 system, or the 3.5 rules, considered still by everybody in the industry to be the best rule system out there, just because of the ease of play and the accessibility of those rules. There is some argument for 5.0, which came out last year. Apparently people are digging it. I haven't looked at it. They tell me it's a lot like 3.5, so let's not fix things that aren't broken, in my opinion. If you lose sound, then relog, Navi. Or it might come back to...
It might just be my internet connection here at the stupid resort, too, so...
It could be. It may come in and out if that's what you're on, if you're not on an Ethernet cable.
Yeah, I'm on the internet and it's kind of screwy.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll keep plunging along. I don't know what I'm saying. Can you tell I just woke up? Anyways, so you need a game system. Basically, that's number 1. Maybe you like westerns, maybe you like science fiction, maybe you like Star Wars or Cthulhu or other types of horror, fantasy, near future, dark future. There's game systems that cover playing animals and playing, all types. If you can imagine it, there's a game system out there for it. So find a game system that you like. Read up on it, know the basics of at least the basics of the rule. You don't have to be an expert when you're a game master. All you have to know is how to find the rules. So, like Dungeons & Dragons, the 3.5 core player's handbook is 300 and some pages. The DM's guide is another 200 or 300 pages. Then there's a monster manual and about 400 other supplements to it. You don't memorize all those books, kids. At least I don't. All you have to do is know where to find the information. So when you're looking up spells or you're looking up magic items or looking up monster statistics, you just know where to go in the book, and then you pull that out during the game. The nice thing about virtual role play is nobody sees you doing that. In real-life tabletop, you're like got your nose in a book a lot because you're trying to find rules, but there's a lot of handy things that you can use while you're virtual, and that includes like the hypertext D20 webpage, which most of you probably have used during my games. That's really super handy to do online gaming. So, but whatever rule system you want, get a general familiarity with it and know what it is. Now, I suggest that you keep it simple, stupid. The KISS principle, if you want to bring in a very complicated role-playing game, like, I hate to say it, Tendrick, but like Traveller, because I know you like Traveller a lot. I do too. I think it's a cool game. And other very complex systems that have, multi-layered rules, you may find it difficult to get newbies involved. If you have some, regular players that have been playing for years, then that's not an issue. I think I could jump into a Traveller and figure it out, but I've been doing this for 25 years, so there is even more complex. The Call of Cthulhu basic game is actually a little more complex than it needs to be. The Shadowrun role-playing game is pretty complex with its D6 system. So I just like the D20 system because everybody seems to know it. It's easy to teach, and the core of the game is you roll a D20 and add a number to it. That's it. So, anyways, but to each their own. Just try to find a game system that you like and you think your friends are going to like, that want to play. All right, number 2 is you need adventures. You need to find an adventure that your players will play in. This is the story. Whether it's a single adventure, a one-night adventure, or a series of adventures, you got to find some adventures. I mean, you could make it up on the fly and try to just create things as you go, and there are tools for that, especially on the hypertext, the main page. They have D20 tools there that randomly determine towns and names and even adventure scenarios. So in the old days, they used to call them modules. Probably Andrew remembers that word. But now they're just called adventures. And you can get them anywhere. They're free online. You can find them by just Googling and searching, and I'm sure you can find some for free. I just did a Google search for Star Wars adventures, and I found 12 of them. So you can write them yourself. I've done that in the past. I have several of them published, in fact, by some small press companies. But you can certainly purchase them online and at your local game store. I highly recommend that you go to your local brick-and-mortar game store, do a Google search in your neighborhood in real life, and find out where a game store is, because I owned and operated one for 19 years, and I know just exactly how important it is that they're supported or they will go away. But if you can't find any, or you don't live near a game store, then certainly places like eBay and Amazon and other online web stores, you can find adventures. Adventure picking is an art. There's no real hard and fast way of doing it. You just find things that you think you like and you think that your friends will like. For example, the Thursday and Friday night games I run here, I ran several of my favorites. The Cult of the Reptile God, which was a low-level adventure that I started the Thursday night group on. I've ran that several times, and I've had people say that they really enjoyed it, that they liked it, and it's a good starter adventure. It kind of teaches everybody how to play the game a little more than an average first-level adventure. So I built it here in VH virtually and ran 2 groups through it so far, and they seem to all have a good time. The Desert of Desolation is an all-time favorite of mine, and that's where my groups are currently playing in. And that's a 3-part adventure that was available commercially back in the 80s. Right now, they're kind of hard to find, and you'd have to probably pay a little bit more than retail on eBay to find them. I'm about to run Ravenloft after the Desert of Desolation, more than likely, and that has been my all-time favorite adventure by far, just because it's gothic horror and involves classical gothic creatures, and that probably is available anywhere. In fact, I heard that it was available for 5th edition, but you could probably still find it on store shelves and on the internet. So what adventures you want to run is completely up to you. I would keep them, again, the KISS principle, keep them simple, and those, unlike the rules, you really do need to read through, paragraph by paragraph and understand the flow of the story. Almost every adventure will tell you that read this all the way through before you run it, just so you have a good idea of what is going to happen, and the characters' names and the locations and all that. One more thing I'll say about adventures is if you find an adventure that you really like, then let Mint Entertainment know, and we'll try to build it virtually for you, so that when you and your players play in it, you'll have a virtual representation. The nice thing about that is other people, other game masters and other players could use this location to run the game as well. And if you, the people in this room, ever want to run any of the adventures that Mint Entertainment has built here, then just let me know, and I can send you the TP locations, and you can use Desert of Desolation, you can use Ravenloft. I even have about a half a dozen adventures built here that haven't been used yet, but are hoping to use shortly. So, those are all available to you. Just let me know. All right, so third thing you need to be a game master is players. You got to have players. Just like a theatrical production, you have a story, well, you need an audience. And with gaming, you have to have at least one player. 2 is better. 3 is even more fun. And 4 or 5 generally seems to be the best. But 6 is optimal. I mean, that's the best situation if you have 6 players. Because with 6 players, you probably will cover every one of the races that are available in your game system. So like in Dungeons & Dragons, that would be a mage or a sorcerer, a fighter type, a priest type, a rogue type, and then you have 2 more slots for either a bard or a paladin or a druid or whatever. And it's the same with all game systems. So try to find 6 players if you can. I'll be starting up a brand new game here shortly with a new group of kids, actually, well, they're in their early 20s. And there's going to be 5 of them, but they're trying to drag a 6th person into it who is a little bit hesitant because they've never done it before. But so you can get away with 5 or 6. Now, if you want to run 8, it's a little more difficult because you got more players to contend with. And keep in mind that the more people you have in your game, that's more chances that someone can't make that time. That always happens. Someone's going on vacation. Someone's sick. Someone's whatever, So, it depends on what philosophy you subscribe to, because if you have 8 people and 2 people drop out or 2 people can't make it, you still have 6 people to play. So the more people you have, the more often you can run the game without canceling it. But the more people you have, the bigger chance that people are going to drop out. So it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. But anyways, find good players that will commit and show up regularly. That's the biggest important thing. Whether they're newbies or not, just being on time and showing up weekly or monthly or every other week or whatever you set it at, that's pretty critical. And finally, the 4th item is you need a time and a date. Generally, most players or most tabletop people meet weekly. That's kind of the standard, once a week. Sometimes on the weekend, sometimes on a weekday, rarely on a weekend or a week afternoon or during the day. Most of the time it's in the evenings. But it's going to be completely up to you and your schedule on how you want to schedule it. But you got to work with players to find out when everybody's available and then set it in stone. Yeah, Friday or Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time is when we play. Or Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern Time is when we play. And whether it's weekly, monthly, I know games that meet once a year. Have a good friend, he's a professor in college, who has a group of 10 guys that meets once a year, and they play for 48 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you can do that too, but I think a weekly get-together is probably more preferential because, it's fresh. It keeps things fresh in everybody's mind. But, it's really up to you guys. So again, the four elements. You need a game system, you need some adventures, you need the players, and you need a time and a place. So those are really all you need to game master it. So I said we can talk into more details about that, so let's do that now. You guys ask questions and talk with each other. Andrew?
When you're saying set a time and a place, what's kind of a typical amount of time per day, or like if for a session is kind of an optimal amount of game time?
That's a great question, and I think that we used to always standard play 4 hours. That was when I owned my game store, and I'm talking real life tabletopping, it was 4 hours. And that worked perfectly in a 8-hour day when we were open because, you know, the day was divided into 2 basic game sets for the use of tables. But now in virtual reality, and as we get older, I find that anything more than 2 hours is really pushing it, the attention span of their players. I think most of us are older folks in here, except for maybe Navi, but it seems that people have lives and they get distracted, and you don't want to get into a situation where they start getting bored and they're on, they're on Facebook in the background, or they're watching TV in the background, or whatever, because you can't really monitor what people are doing in virtual world. So I chose 2 hours, and 2 hours seems fine. There is times that we play over because maybe we'll bullshit up until the second hour, and then all of a sudden a combat breaks out, and the combat, you don't really want to end in the middle of a combat, so I always like to go over a little bit, but that's really up to the players. I think the short way to answer your question, Andrew, is that it's really up to the game master and the players and what they decide on, but 2 hours works perfect for me in virtual worlds. What do you guys think? What do the rest of you think about timing?
I think 2 hours works well. Personally, I'd play for 4, but that's just me.
Yeah, but you're
I think
right.
that's
I think 2 hours is optimal because any longer than that, and people have to wander away to do other things.
Yep.
And on a beginning game, maybe even just an hour with all new people to give them a chance to get into it, and then maybe boost it up to 2.
Mm-hmm. That's an idea.
And mainly just to keep their attention span, especially if they're newbies.
Right.
Oh, young newbies.
I actually think the opposite. With newbies, I think you need longer because you spend so much time talking on the first session that you don't really do anything.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple of things to consider. If you're going to run a one-night game, which is another option, by the way, than running a weekly, where you just find an adventure that's short and you can run it in a couple of hours or whatever.
Yeah, that's
I think you should schedule the one-nighters for 3 to 4 hours because you'll need that time to get through the entire adventure, especially if the adventure is
That's like the diner. 2 hours
Right.
are just right for that.
Right, because that was really simple and short. But there are one-night adventures that are a little more lengthy, like the haunted house one that I run at Halloween. I scheduled that over a couple of nights because it takes several hours to get through that entire house.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends on your players too. If they're bullshitting a lot and are just talking and not gaming, then it may take even longer.
How do you know how long a game will take? How do you judge it?
It's really hard to tell, and I think that really depends on the players. If you have a talky bunch, and, I mean, let's face it, this is a social thing that we're doing here, so talking is permissible. Outside of the game talking. There's nothing wrong with socializing a little bit while you're gaming, talking about movies or TV shows you're watching or whatever, as long as it doesn't get out of hand. If it goes longer than a few minutes, then the game master really should start focusing back on the game and telling players, to focus. Basically, shut up.
Well, that's like the Thursday night crew when we went through the pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
You said something about we had gone through faster than the other one because
Right.
it had bypassed a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Which is a timing issue as well. So you might have a scheduled 3 or 4 hour adventure, but suddenly somebody comes up with this great idea that bypasses a whole hour and a half of what you planned, and that sucks for you because you did all that preparation, but there's nothing you can do about it, you know.
Let me ask my question. If I went out and bought an adventure today, went out and bought the books that I needed, how would I know whether I had bought something that would be a one-night game or last several months playing once a week? Is there anything in there to help me with that?
No, you can read the back. Unfortunately, a lot of these adventures are shrink-wrapped, so you can't really read the insides because they do that on purpose, so you buy it. But if you read the back, and it generally tells you how in-depth there is. If there is, I don't know, more than a few settings, like town settings, and more than a few NPCs, important, you know, big bosses at the end and that kind of stuff, then you're probably looking at a longer adventure that's going to take longer.
Okay.
But if it's short, I mean, you're going to notice that right away. And they may even say that on the adventure, that this is a one-shot, one-night, couple-hour play. They have been doing that lately, but the best way, Trixie, is just to read through a bunch and judge it your own self. You know, I mean, there's no quick and fast way to really tell how long something is.
And then Google is your friend too.
Yeah, I mean, you could find reviews online and do that. But here's an example. So, as you know, I ran Into the Mountains of Madness, which is a Call of Cthulhu adventure, and it was originally meant for the Cthulhu rule set, which is a whole other complicated rules than D20. But it was converted to D20 several years ago. So once I had the D20 conversion and ran it, it says right on the cover that this is an epic adventure. It's one of these games that are going to last probably a year of gameplay. And I knew that going into it. So I sped things up slightly, and after a couple of times of running it, I kind of learned what worked and what didn't. So what I did, running 2-hour sessions, as you know, most of you played in it. Well, actually, only 2 of you played in it. The fact that it lasted 6 months of our time, meeting weekly.
Longer, I think.
Was it longer?
I think so.
Meeting 2 hours a week. So I ran it in real life for 4-hour sessions once a week, and it still lasted 6 to 8 months. So that's a big, epic, it's a 600-page adventure. So that's going to take a long time. But shorter ones, the ones that you can find on the internet that are only, 10, 15 pages long, you should be able to play those. In fact, if you do a Google search for one-night D20 adventures, you'll probably find ones that are, they're meant for 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4 tops.
The amount of...
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I was going to say the amount of time that you have available for sessions as well. I guess that depends on when you're going to be meeting. I mean, if you've got, if you're meeting during the week and people have to go to work the next morning, you're probably not going to be wanting to try and run 4-hour sessions. But if you're meeting on a Friday or something like that, and you could, meet at 8 o'clock, you could go for 4 hours or something. Or if you're meeting on a Saturday or Sunday during the day, it's easier to do the longer sessions then.
That's for sure. My Friday night group meets at 10. Originally, we picked that time, 10 till midnight, because it was so hard to get everybody together on a weekly basis. And Friday night at 10 was, the philosophy behind that was, the big night out that everybody goes out and has fun, usually a Saturday night. That's when parties are scheduled and all that. So Fridays, you might go to dinner, you might see a movie, but generally speaking, you're home by 10. At least older folks are. So I thought that everybody would be at least home by 10. And